All right, it's 10:01. I'm going to get started as I'm still seeing a few people filter in, but I'm going to get started anyway. So welcome. It is Wednesday morning. It is our bi-weekly SCORE Monmouth webinar series. Today we have Randy Barber and Jessica Baldwin from Cardsetter 101. They're going to be talking to us about website planning and how to take your first steps towards website success. Just a few housekeeping notes before I hand over to Jessica. We are going to be recording this webinar, so it will be available on our YouTube channel within a few days of the end of today's webinar. We are going to take Q&A as usual. The Q&A, if you could please use the Q&A function and not the chat function, it's much easier for us to monitor it that way. We will be taking questions throughout the webinar and again, also at the end of the presentation. I'm with Monmouth SCORE. We are a volunteer-based organization. Excuse my dogs if you hear them in the background. We are powered by the SBA, but we are a local chapter here. We do have national offices, but this is the Monmouth SCORE office. And if anybody is looking for a mentor, please go to our website at monmouth.score.org and you can find a whole host of mentors there if you're looking for some help with your business. If anybody is looking to become a mentor, we're always looking for good mentors or for people who are willing to volunteer and help us with our chapter. So on that note, I am going to hand over to Jessica and let her take it away. Thanks, ladies.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jessica, and I want to welcome you to Website Planning 101. Thanks for registering for the webinar and for being here today. So here's what we'll be covering today. We'll discuss why planning out your website is so important, and we'll cover the common pitfalls to avoid. We'll talk about what we call a minimum viable launch point, and then we'll go into the 4 main steps for planning your website. And finally, we'll review how to choose your website platform and provider. And at the end, we'll have time for questions. We will stop periodically for a few questions, and then we'll try to get to the rest at the end. Yeah, so drop your questions in the Q&A at any time when they come to you. And if we don't get to them like at the time of the question, we'll come back to them at the end as we have time available. So I'm your host today, and this is a little bit of my background. I have kind of a unique perspective when it comes to websites because I've been on both sides of the website building process. So I've been the small business owner who hired someone to build a website for me. And then later I got involved in helping build hundreds of websites for others. In 2009, I founded an events and entertainment website for Billings, Montana, that was called billings365.com. And in my 10 years of operating that business, I actually had 5 different versions of the website. The first one that I had to hire someone to build for me cost me about $7,500. And so I've been through that whole process of, spending a bunch of money to have a website built for me and doing all of that. I also spent 3 years as partner at a website development agency where we did custom WordPress websites for clients. So I was kind of on the project management side of those websites. And then in 2016, one of my website developers and I were brainstorming the next version of billings365.com. And I was really frustrated with the platforms that were available. I felt like I was sinking my time into managing my WordPress website. Even coming from the background of being in a WordPress agency, I was really frustrated with the time as a non-technical admin of my website that I had to sink into trying to update my site, add content to it and all of that. And so Josh and I came up with the idea for Cardsetter to be an easier to use website platform with more flexibility for content organization and things like that. And so all of this just to let you know that I've worked on hundreds of websites, several of them were my own. So I'm looking forward to sharing my insight with you this morning. And I also have Randy Barber with me here today. She's going to help me with the Q&A. Randy, would you tell everyone a little bit about yourself as well?
Hey everyone, I'm Randy. Thanks for jumping on to geek out on websites with us tonight or this morning. Whew, it's early. We're so excited to have you. I'm a business owner myself as well, and actually a customer of CardSetter. I have gone through the process of trying to create my own website on Wix, giving up and hiring an agency to build it on WordPress, and then now having a CardSetter website. So we're excited to share kind of what we've learned on our own website journeys with you guys today. And then also, we love presenting with SCORE. I'm a SCORE mentee myself. At one point I was looking at franchising my business and didn't really know where to start. And so I went into a SCORE location and asked if they had any mentors with experience in franchising. And they were a pretty small chapter. And so they didn't have anybody locally, but they printed out a list of like 6 people nationwide that had franchise experience and said, you know, go ahead and reach out to all of them and see who you connect with. So I did. I reached out to every single one of them, ended up really connecting with about 3 of them. And they all had different areas of expertise in franchising. One was actually like the marketing director for a very well-known franchise, McDonald's, for a long time. So he could share the marketing side, where another had actually started a franchise from the ground up, and another had worked in the legal side of it. So that's what I love about SCORE is you can have a mentor in every area that you need it. You could have a marketing mentor and a sales mentor and an accounting mentor. So it's really an amazing resource for business owners, and it's free. So if you guys don't have a mentor, I definitely recommend reaching out to your local chapter and getting a SCORE mentor. But with that, we'll kick this off. Again, I'm going to be managing the Q&A. So it looks like we have about 27 people right now. So great group size to be able to get to some of your questions. So go ahead and drop those in the Q&A as they come up. We'll ask them every few slides, and then we'll save some for the end as well.
Okay, so first thing, why is planning your website so important? So a little planning goes a long way. Whether you're building it yourself or working with a professional, planning ahead of time will help you gain clarity on what you and your customers need from your website. It'll help you prioritize what's most important. It'll help you make better choices for your specific needs. It'll help you save time and money, and it will streamline the entire process so you can launch much faster. And that brings us to some pitfalls to avoid. So we see a lot of business owners put the cart before the horse with the focus on what their website's going to look like before they've done any planning for their website. So, you know, you might start checking out website designs and themes, getting an idea of what you want your site to look like, but you don't really know what your website needs to do or what assets you have available to make the design happen. So oftentimes when we look at templates, they'll have, you know, professional photos in the design. And a lot of times those photos have a similar color palette, and the photos are helping make the design really pop. But if you don't have those same photos, or you don't have similar photography to go into the template, the design just isn't going to look as good. And similarly, that design might have, you know, places for headings and text, but you don't know what kind of copy you have yet because you haven't done the planning. So you want to design your website around your specific needs, not try to fit your business into the requirements and the, you know, the pieces of a template. Along those same lines is choosing a platform before you've laid out your plan. So when you plan first, you'll have a better framework for matching your specific needs to the platform with the features that will work best for you. And again, choosing a designer or a developer before you have a plan in place is a mistake, because if you plan first, you can enter the conversation with the professional that you're considering with your very specific requirements, which means you'll get a better estimate. And your project will probably cost less and move along much quicker because you're giving them all of the details, all of your needs up front. So a lot of times in working with a professional, a lot of back and forth, if you don't have a plan in place, ends up happening, and that adds time and adds cost and will add a lot of frustration on your part. So your website will come together much faster if you have it all planned out ahead of time. Okay, so now that we know why planning is important and what pitfalls to avoid, I want to talk with you about what we call a minimum viable launch. So in working with hundreds of business owners on their websites, I've seen projects completely stall out because the business owner will be stuck on one specific page or a section of content for their website. Maybe they just don't have time to get to it right away, or they're just not sure what they want there. And so then the project, the launch of the website will completely just pause as we're waiting for information or they're waiting to make a decision. For example, maybe you want to have a services page on your website, and your vision is to have your packages perfectly lined out with pricing. But you don't quite have all of this info together yet. You haven't quite determined what your pricing is going to be or what's going to be in each of those packages. So to get to a minimum viable launch point, you might just fill in a general description of what you offer and have an inquiry form where they can request a quote or sign up for a consultation so you can gather information and then provide pricing during that call. That's a intermediate step on your way to your perfect vision for that page. So you want to take on the mindset that your website is iterative and it will change and adapt as you have new information available or as your business's needs change. When you have those packages lined out, you can go update that page and change the way you display that information on your site. So planning does not necessarily mean perfection. You want to, make a good comprehensive plan that will get you to a place where you can launch your website and then plan to make it better over time. Okay, so let's get into planning your website. Actually, I'll pause if there's any questions related to what we talked about. If they're different, I would suggest we hold them for the end.
We don't have any questions yet, so you're going to keep going.
All right. Okay, so the next section will go through the 4 main steps to planning your website, and this will include pages from our website planner, and that will be made available to you at the end of the presentation. So you'll get a link where you can get the printable PDF version and the Google Sheets version so you can complete your planning in the worksheet itself. So you don't have to worry about taking too many notes for your website during the presentation because we'll give you the workbook to help you with that at the end. So when you complete your website plan, you'll be better equipped to choose the right platform, the right design templates, and to create your website faster. Or if you decide to work with a professional, you'll have a comprehensive plan in place that you can hand over to them to ensure that smooth website building project. So the first thing you want to do in planning your website is outline the technical details and feature needs for your website. So we're trying to take an inventory of any technology that you already use, if any, and then consider the features and functionality your website will need, and consider what tools you might need to facilitate those features. So this is what that looks like in our website planner. On step 1, we're going to log some basic information, the business name, indicate whether we're building a new website or moving an existing site, log the website address, so your .com, .org, whatever you've registered, and where it is registered, if it's GoDaddy or Google or somewhere else. If you don't have one registered yet, that's okay. Hopefully this prompts you to kind of start thinking about getting your domain registered. This kind of detailed information is especially useful if you end up working with someone else because they get an understanding of all of the logins and things like that they might need to collect from you. Next, we'll list out the social media links that you have for your brand. It's just nice to have those handy for adding to your website when you get to that stage. And then you can start thinking about the features your website needs with the features checklist on this page. So are you going to blog? Will you have a download or freebie lead capture? Does your website visitor need to be able to schedule an appointment with you from the website? Are you selling physical products? Will you want to be able to accept payments on your website? Do you have a membership or subscription program? And is there anything else that you can think of that you want for your website? We have a section for payment processors. So if you do want to accept payments or have an e-commerce store, you will need a payment processor to do that. So if you're already using one of the following, you can check that off or write in the one that you're using. If you don't have one already, it's time to start thinking about looking at different payment processors to find the one that's right for you. I personally like Stripe because it works with a lot of different software technologies. Do you have an account already for an e-newsletter? You know, maybe you're already sending out a newsletter through MailChimp or ConvertKit or Substack or something like that. So you can note that here. And if you don't already have an e-newsletter, but you know that you're going to want to be able to collect emails and send out a newsletter on your website, this should prompt you to start looking at the different e-newsletter softwares that are out there. So all of them can typically integrate with your website, and you can add sign-up forms and things like that from the e-newsletter software to your website, but then the emails themselves are sent via, MailChimp or ConvertKit or whatever. And then at the bottom, we've left room to describe any other specific software you need your website to work with and any other features that are specific to you and your business. If you're creating a website, you'll also want to track your website visitors. You can do this with Google Analytics, and it's a good idea to also install a Facebook pixel at the beginning. Both of those services are free, and both are pretty important when you start marketing your website. You'll want to track your traffic, your conversions, what pages are popular on your website, how many people are visiting from a mobile device versus desktop, and all of that. So these tools will help you do that. And we've provided directions on how to set up those accounts. Having all of the technical details in one place makes it much easier to understand which services you already have and what else you'll need to power your website. So if you work with someone else, again, this is really helpful for them as they build out your website. So one quick tip while we're in this section, we highly recommend that you register your own domain for your website. So you can do that at Google Domains or at GoDaddy. There's several others that exist. But registering your own domain ensures that you always have access to it and that you're the official owner. So if you decide, to use a platform like Squarespace or Wix, sometimes they have an option to register your domain when you're setting up your website. I recommend that you set it up separately at GoDaddy or Google, simply because if you ever decide you want to switch platforms, and that does happen relatively often, it's just more straightforward to switch and be able to close down your account at Squarespace or Wix if your domain's not stuck in there. Otherwise, you got to go through this whole transfer process that can be kind of cumbersome. And then if you work with an agency or freelancer, a lot of times they'll offer to register your domain for you. But that means then that your domain is in the website agency or freelancer's domain account, not an account for you, which means by all legal standards, they own that domain. And we've seen many business owners have trouble getting access to their domain when their previous provider stops returning phone calls or emails after that relationship goes south. And you would assume that professionals wouldn't act that way, but I can assure you it happens more often than you would think. So just to be safe, register your own domain in your own account. You really want to protect that as a critical business asset that you own. Okay, so business info. In this section, we're spending time on the description of the business, the ideal customer, and we're defining the exact action that we want our website visitors to take. So you'll begin with your general business description. So what does your business do? What products and services does it provide? And next, we're going to describe the ideal customer. This is pretty important when it comes to your website, because we're thinking about who the website is for and what are their needs. So I like to keep this fairly simple for the purpose of the planner, and use a simple fill in the blank statement to think about the person that the website is for. So as a type of person, I want some goal so that some reason. For my business, Card Setter, I would fill that in with, as a small business owner, I want to spend less time building and administering my website so that I can spend more time on revenue generating activities in my business. For a financial planner's ideal client, it might be something like, as a busy 30-something, I want to invest in my future so that I can retire with a home on the lake. So when we describe who our customer is and what their desires are, it helps us design the website and the text and everything on our website around their needs. And then we have a space for your key benefit statement. So why is your business the best choice for your ideal customer? So you kind of want to take your ideal customer statement and then craft your key benefit statement back to them. So for our financial planner, it might sound something like, Lee Humphrey takes the overwhelm out of financial planning. He'll help you take simple steps to achieve your big dreams, beginning with just 30 minutes of your time to get started. Okay, so next, you want to list out your main product and service categories with a simple description for each. This is important for easy reference when you start planning out content and organization of your products and services. And then what is the primary action you want your website visitors to take? So that's going to be different for each business, and your general strategy for converting your customers on your website. So you might want them to request a quote from you, sign up for an initial consultation, buy a specific product, sign up for a free resource or your e-newsletter, or any other number of things based on your business. So what is the number one thing that you want them to do? This is your call to action, and you want to plan your website around helping your visitors take that action. Okay, so before we move on to the next section, do we have any questions, Randy?
Yeah, we've got some technical questions for this one.
Okay.
I'd like to know your recommendation on a subscription with paying a fee for an e-magazine on my website versus having a blog, which is free.
Oh, so I would have a combination. I think I know what you're talking about, kind of like gated content behind a paywall where you log in and have access to content as a subscriber. So this is a little bit of marketing advice that is probably separate from the website, but I would set it up so I have some free content on the blog, and then I would have certain articles that are behind the paywall that are like considered premium content. And the reason for that is you want to be able to draw people in and get them familiar with you and your content before asking them to pay. It's highly unlikely that someone is going to pay for premium content to something that they don't really know or trust yet. But if you use that free content on your blog, you have a better chance of getting them then to subscribe to your premium content if they're enjoying the free content. And there's a few different tools that we use at Card Setter to facilitate those subscription setups. One of them is Pico, and another is MemberStack that make it really easy to add that gated content feature to your site.
Another from Robert, working on my WordPress site and need an intuitive media player to put on my homepage where visitors can listen to demo reels and also have the option to download the MP3. Do you have any suggestions?
Okay, say that again. What is what at the end part, to download demo reels?
Yep, and the option to download the MP3s.
I'm not familiar with any, I haven't worked in WordPress specifically for a long time, so I'm not super familiar with WordPress plugins that exist for that. But I would search the WordPress plugin marketplace for something like that. Another option would be to embed SoundCloud files. But I'm not entirely sure if they have a download button, but they might. Which is really easy to use. SoundCloud makes it super simple and works on any platform, WordPress or other.
Great. And then what's the name of the open source web development tools? I'm not sure.
I don't know. But doesn't have enough specificity to it, but open source, the most popular open source web development platform or content management system is WordPress, and you download the base code at wordpress.org, and then you have to host that code and your modifications to it and that installation at a separate host.
Perfect. That's all the questions for now.
Okay. Okay, so once you have your technical details outlined and you've defined your business, the customer, and the action that you want them to take, we can start taking an inventory of the assets that we have available. So in this section, we're compiling the graphics along with any text that you use to market your business frequently. And we're going to organize all of that in one place where it's easy to access. So, put it all in a Dropbox or a Google Drive folder, have all your website assets easy to access if you choose to build your website yourself. Or, it's really easy to send that Dropbox or Google Drive folder then to a professional if you decide to go that route. So on the worksheet, you'll include your tagline and any other copy that you use in marketing your business. You'll check off the assets that you have available. So your logo, if you're doing a freebie or a download, do you have headshots, photos, and the others listed here. You can also note any color preferences for your brand, along with any font preferences. So if you work with someone else, this is really valuable in getting the design to match your brand. Or it's just handy for you to have as a reference as you start to build out your site. And then the good thing is with this asset list is if you want to have headshots on your website, for example, but you don't have those yet, hopefully this list kind of prompts you to get those things together and maybe go out and hire someone to get the photos done so you have them available for your website. And that brings us to the last step in planning your website, but it's probably the biggest step, and that's content. So when we talk about content, this is more than just the copy or writing the words for the pages. It starts with prioritizing information and clearly communicating with your audience. So it includes how content will be organized on the site and what type of content is needed where. So your images, videos, written text, etc. It can help to think about your content in a flowchart or what we call a sitemap. So you'll start with your home page. So that's kind of the base of your website, right? And then every website typically also needs an about page and a contact page. So those are pretty standard. But the other menu items are going to be highly specific to your business, but it's a good idea to get those planned out. So go back to thinking about your audience and their needs, and then what information do they need to be able to easily find on your website? So that can be a good way to prioritize what should be in your menu. So for example, if you were an accountant, your menu items might have a menu item for like bookkeeping and a separate one for tax preparation. Some other common menu items can be services, shop, pricing, or specific names of your products and services. So the accountant, for example, could have a menu item for bookkeeping and another for tax preparation, or they might have services and then have subsections under that services page for bookkeeping and tax preparation. So it's really, just a preference of how you think your customers would best navigate your site. So once you've created that outline for your content, you can start planning the content and writing copy for the individual pages. A good place to begin is your homepage. So what is the most important thing that your website visitors need to see when they hit your website? This is a good spot to think back to your ideal customer and your key benefit statement and your call to action. Those should be a priority on your homepage. So when I say refer back to the ideal customer, you're not going to put that ideal customer statement on your website. It's more of a tool to think about who you're designing the website for. But the key benefit statement might very well be something that goes at the top of your website with the call to action button to help them take the intended action. So those things are priority, and you want to support those 3 things on your homepage and throughout the rest of your website. So we'll look at a few examples. This is Brit Smart Security's homepage. This is what we call the hero section, or the section above the scroll. It says, let us keep your family secure and connected. And then smart security and home installation in Columbus and Medina, Ohio. And the call to action button says, contact us. So right away, the website is communicating the key benefit, keep your family secure and connected. Brit offers home security and smart home connection services. So this makes sense. And then they're helping to define the target customer, which is families in the Columbus and Medina, Ohio areas. And you'll notice that they do that through copy as well as the image here. They've selected this beautiful family photo to communicate that, that feeling of that's the idea, that the customer that they serve. That doesn't mean that they exclude single people who need security or internet connection services and things like that. It's just that they know that their most likely customer is families who are thinking about, securing their home because they have, a family now to keep safe. And so they're designing their website to that core audience. Here's another one for Midway Bravery, which is a book for anyone who appreciates the greatest generation's wartime sacrifice. And so that very clearly spells out who would enjoy this book. And then they have their call to action to purchase the book. Okay, and then we'll look at Go Unite. Go Unite is Randy's company, and Go Unite is a member-based event organization. So right towards the top, she has completely planned events, and her support copy says, we bring people together who like to get out, try something new, meet new people, reconnect with old friends, and really experience all Billings has to offer. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your completely planned events. And then she's got a fun graphic with her call to action that says, become a member. So visitors understand exactly what Go Unite has to offer early on in browsing her website. Okay, so now that we've considered what should go on the homepage, let's dig into the rest of the website. You'll want to list out a detailed outline of your products and services with descriptions for each. So earlier we created kind of a general products and services like category page. But if you were doing like an e-commerce website, this section would be like a list of your inventory. So every product that you were going to list on your site. But you can also use it for your services. So you can give a detailed explanation of all the services that fall under your service categories, for example. So anything that someone can buy from you should be on this list. Even if you do like speaking engagements, I would put that type of thing here. It's also a good time to start collecting some testimonials from your existing customers. If you don't have testimonials yet, that's okay. But again, hopefully this prompts you to, think about asking for them as you start to serve customers. Testimonials help to build trust on your website and can be used on your homepage and elsewhere throughout your site to kind of give that social proof, show the audience member that other people like them use your services and have been happy with it. In the planner, we've included several generic worksheet pages for your content. You can start with the main page that would be associated with that menu item. Write the copy that would go on that primary page, and then plan out any sub-pages that might be in that section. You can log notes for what you want within those pages, write the copy, and even maybe make notes of like what type of image or if you want a video on that page or that type of thing. Your About section should include information about you and your business. So if you have several people within your business, you might have a team page in this section. This is where you build trust with your customers by describing your business's background and experience. The contact page. So you want to make it easy for your customers to contact you. Every website should have a contact page, but I wouldn't stop there. Think about your ideal customer and how they would want to get in touch with you. So you may want to offer the option for them to reach out via text or send a Facebook or Instagram direct message to your business page, for example. So you want to be available wherever they are. And on your contact page, you want to list all of those options. Personally, I don't like when I see a website that only has a contact form and doesn't provide like a general email address to contact them on or a phone number or something like that, because I've been on websites where you fill out the contact form and then you have no idea if it actually got received. You might wait days for a response. And so I think it's a bad idea to make it difficult for your customer to get in touch with you, because you want to get all the business that you can. And if you make it hard for people, they're just going to bounce from your website and leave. You'd also want to include your business address, if that's applicable, phone number, hours, if those things are applicable to your business. You want that on your contact page. But if you're like a brick and mortar local business, you might want that also on your homepage. Like if you're a restaurant or a store or something like that, I would think about putting a map on your homepage along with your hours and information like that, because a lot of people are, trying to find where you are and when you're open. Okay, so once we get through all of that, you've successfully planned out your website. It's a lot to think through, but I hope that this general framework has helped to simplify the process. Next step, I will talk about platform and provider considerations. We have about 20 minutes left, so I think I might move on and do the questions at the end, Randy. So we're sure we get everything in.
Yep, that sounds good. There's only one question right now, so
okay.
You're good.
Okay, so choosing a platform and provider. There's a few questions you want to ask yourself now that you have lined out your website plan. So will the platform or provider grow and adapt with your business? We already talked about a minimum viable launch and that your website will be iterative. Plan on your website changing. It will happen because you'll launch your business, you'll start to get feedback from customers, and things will change. And your website will need to change to reflect that. And so you want to make sure that you have the flexibility to add on or make changes to your website as you need to. And you kind of want to understand what costs might be associated with doing so. Do I want to spend my time or my money? So regardless, there's a cost to your website, right? If you're spending your time building your website yourself, that's time you're not investing in getting new customers or providing the service that is key to your business. That's okay if that's a cost that you are willing to make, but you should recognize it as a cost and make a conscious decision about, spending that resource. If you decide to, hire someone, then you'll be spending your money. And what is the value of that expense to you and your business? Do the platform's features match your requirements? So now that you've outlined all of your requirements, you can go through different platforms' feature list and make sure that they have the features that you need. Are hosting and SSL and other essentials included? If you sign up for a subscription-based product, like CardSetter is subscription-based, and the do-it-yourself platforms are subscription-based. Hosting is typically included in that subscription. If you decide to hire somebody, you may need separate hosting, or they may provide a separate hosting plan for you. So just understanding how that will work based on where you go. And SSL is a security layer on your domain. Google nearly requires it now, so it is an essential thing to have on your website. At CardSetter, for example, all of our websites, we include an SSL on your domain. Some of the other platforms also do that. If you do like a WordPress site, whether you build a WordPress site yourself or you hire someone to build a WordPress site for you, then you probably need to purchase an SSL separately through your domain registrar. Do you have access to make edits on your own? So if you choose a do-it-yourself platform, you obviously have access to make edits on your own. If you hire somebody to build your website for you, this can vary. And there's kind of a spectrum of options on that side of things. You might have access to certain things to change, but not everything. You might have full access depending on the provider you use, or you might have no access. A lot of professional agencies will require all changes to be made through them, which of course adds an hourly fee. That doesn't mean it's wrong. A lot of business owners really prefer to be hands-off and let an agency take care of it, keep everything nice and perfect looking. And some people are willing to pay for that. Let's see, what is the cost of future change requests? So if you go the do-it-yourself platform, how easy is it for you to get in there and use the platform? What kind of costs might add up if you need to make significant changes later, or need, a change to your design or something like that. If you go the agency freelancer route, what is their hourly fee for change requests if you need their help? How is support handled, and is there a cost? Different platforms have different levels of support. So just review how support is handled before you sign up and commit to something. What happens if you want to switch? So this is a pretty big one, in my opinion, because you may want to switch platforms someday. You probably will want to switch platforms someday. So after you've invested a bunch of time and effort or money into your website, adding content, you'll want to be able to take that content with you. Different platforms have different levels of ease in doing that, or the ability to do that at all. So for example, at CardSetter, if our customers decide to quit their subscription, we will zip up all of their content, so all of the pages, all of the HTML for the pages, and hand that over to them so that they can use it elsewhere. They can upload that content to another platform if they so choose. But not every platform makes it that easy, and not every agency or freelancer makes it that easy. So just one of those things you want to know and be comfortable with before signing on the dotted line. So when you're evaluating the many different options on where to start your website, Of course, you want to make sure the platform has the features you need as you've outlined in your website plan. And then you have to begin thinking about what you want to spend, because as we mentioned before, it's time or money. If you decide to go with a do-it-yourself platform like Squarespace or Wix, the primary benefit is the cost savings. The downside is that they cost you your time, and it really depends on your technical skill level and ability. You may not end up with a website that works or looks quite right, but if you're more technically inclined and design inclined, it might be a good option. On the other side of the spectrum, you can hire an agency or freelancer to build your website for you. They typically use WordPress. It's still the most popular platform amongst agencies and freelancers. The benefit is that someone will take care of all of the technical aspects and the design work for you, which saves you time. The downside is that there's a significantly higher upfront cost than the do-it-yourself platforms, and there's often additional expenses when you want to make changes to your website later. And then while we're on this topic, I will mention my company, which is CardSetter, because we are one of those options that you can consider. As I previously mentioned, CardSetter exists because I was one of you, a business owner, looking for a better option to run my website, something that was fast and flexible for me to use. But at CardSetter, we bridge the gap between do-it-yourself and done for you. We're kind of a hybrid option. So our platform is easy to use, easy for you to get in and add content and make edits, but you don't actually have to go through the hurdle of building your website yourself. We include design and setup in our affordable packages. Okay, so lots of information covered today. I've provided the link here for the website planner, which you can download. And I'll open it up to questions. It looks like we have just over 10 minutes for that.
Right. Our first question is, I am considering hosting live calls, video or phone, where people can ask questions. I'm considering doing this for free to generate paying subscriptions. What can I use for these video or phone calls?
Yeah, so you can use Zoom, which we're on right now. Zoom is a preferred platform because it's more reliable than a lot of other systems. But Google Meet is another free option for video calling. And another thing that you might have interest in that case would be like Calendly, which would allow people to schedule those calls with you or register, for a specific one that you have planned from a calendar link.
Also, I did just drop this link to the planner in the chat box so that now it's a clickable link you guys can click on or copy and paste directly into your browser to download our planner. Next question, what platform do you build websites on and why?
Yeah, so CardSetter is itself a website platform. So we built our own content management system and website builder from the ground up. And the reason that we did that is because the other platforms were not suiting the needs of Billings 365. And through working with lots of other customers in our WordPress agency, we realized that other people would like what we had built with CardSetter as well. So CardSetter is a little bit more robust and can handle more content, which I needed for my business, than the off-the-shelf website builders. And we also added features like front-end editing, so you can actually click and edit directly on the page versus having, a lot of the platforms have like a sidebar where you fill in information and it'll show, and it's just like not as immediate of a change as editing directly on the page, or doesn't feel as simple. So things like that we added to our platform. So just everything that we wanted ourselves as an admin, a non-technical person who needed to be able to make changes and add content. And so that's why we built our own And then we added a layer of service onto that. So we include the design and setup, but then we include in our support ongoing subscription help for our customers. So they get a change request that's done for them every month, just so we can take care of some little things or big things that they don't want to handle on their own. Because we know that as a business owner, you do need some of that support, some help along the way, but you don't necessarily want to rack up a bunch of additional charges when you need to do those things. So that's why that's what we use.
Any specific recommendations for an author's website, which will include regular blog posts?
Yeah, so Card Setter specifically was built because Billings 365 was a blog / content heavy website. So we have a lot of content organization features built in along with sponsorship features. So, you know, not to be overly promotional, but I would recommend my own tool because I built it for that exact purpose. Other options might include, you know, you can blog for free on Medium. You can also use, there's a platform called Substack that's a newsletter driven platform, but it also will post your blog posts to a page dedicated to you. So it'll include all those blog posts, and you can also send out the blogs as newsletters.
Are you using HTML5 and CSS on your platform? We have a very tech savvy group today.
Oh, we use,
we need Josh for these ones.
Yeah. Let me look it up. What's the next question? And I'll get the tech stack from.
That is the last question. So I did just drop the link again in the chat box. Sorry, I had the wrong feature clicked and I was just sending it to panelists. So I sent it to all attendees again there. So it is in the chat box twice. So go ahead and click on that link, and then all you can do is type in your first name, email address, and we'll email this planner over to you.
Card Setter is built on React, Node.js, MongoDB.
All right. Do you recommend A/B testing?
Yeah. This gets into a little bit more of the marketing strategy of your website. So typically when people reference A/B testing, we're talking about testing like different landing pages or different home pages, things like that, to see if they will convert to your desired call to action. A/B testing is only going to be effective once you reach a certain level of traffic. So if you only have a small amount of traffic, you're not really going to have enough people to A/B test to gauge, you know, whether one thing is more effective than the other. So you'll likely need, you know, several hundreds, if not 1,000 or more visitors for A/B testing to really tell you much. But yes, if you have the resources to A/B test, it's a great idea.
Any recommendations for an artist setting up a website to have a presence online with a call to action to purchase artwork like drawings and paintings?
Yeah, so I would personally set that up with kind of blog content to get people to your website over and over. So blogging about what you're working on, or blogging about different artwork that you have, blogging about the inspiration behind your artwork, things like that. So people can get to know the artist and really have a reason that they might want to connect and purchase a piece of artwork. So I would take it as a content plus e-commerce type of project, where I would have the blog content to kind of pull people in, and then have the e-commerce piece to make it possible for them to order the artwork from the website as well.
What if my visitors don't like to read a lot, but Google prioritizes longer copy for SEO purposes?
Then again, this is, yeah. So here we're getting into kind of SEO strategy, but I would recommend using a combination then. So having long form content that Google can pick up and read, but also having some short pieces that you push out to your audience that you know they're more inclined to read and engage with. So we're using kind of both strategies of serving the key audience that's maybe going to your website to read your articles. And then if you wanted to, because I know you don't necessarily, if you're sending your audience to your website for good content, perhaps you don't necessarily want to have the long form content featured because you want to push them to what you know they want. So you could organize that, maybe have like a section for your deeper resources and then like a blog or something like that for the shorter pieces that you know are going to be more popular. But that way you're taking the opportunity to pull new people in through those Google searches.
Great. And that was our last question.
Okay. My email's on the screen as well. If you guys think of anything that you want to ask after the webinar, you're welcome to email me as well.
All right. Does that mean we are all set?
Yep, I think we've wrapped up.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jessica and Randy. That was really great. It was really informative. So appreciate your time and appreciate all the information you provided. To everybody who joined, thank you for joining. We really appreciate it. Please spread the word to your friends and colleagues and peers, etc. If you have anyone who's looking for a mentor, who wants to become a mentor, or who is interested in our webinar program. All of our webinars are scheduled on our website and on our Facebook page. And we have webinars with a lot of varied content scheduled out through the end of, I think right now, through the end of June or middle of July. So, and we are also always looking for suggestions and webinar presenters. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any of the above. Again, this will be on our YouTube channel. Need probably a few days just to get it up there and load it on the YouTube channel. So, and the YouTube channel is Monmouth Score. So please go ahead and check it out and share it with your friends also. Jessica and Randy, again, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and we appreciate your presentation. And we will see everybody in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.